Am I the only one on that? Some people shut down. Some people just get angry, right? And I'm one of those, it ain't no flight. It's flight after I whip your butt, then it's flight, right? I mean, that's like, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm like, yeah. And I'm going, but then I call him up and I'm like, Dwight, I don't know what to do, man. And he's like, God, I love that man. He passed away a while back, but he'd go, Brother Paul, you got this, man. How many times we seen God come through? How many times we seen him come through? And he's over there telling me, reminding me, you remember back when you needed $40,000 and you didn't even know where you were going to get it. Turned out you got it the next day from the weirdest place in the world. Yeah, I remember that, Dwight. Yeah. So he's building my faith back up. And I said, I don't know what to do, Lord, but I'm going to do whatever you tell me to do. Now, why did I go through all that? Because you see, it was a miracle that I didn't have any money. Sometimes God works in the most strange ways that puts you in a better deal. Because here's the deal. An attorney at my church came to me or went to my dad. They had heard about this, and because they were on the prayer team, and we put it up for prayer. And it was interesting because she said, I'm getting ready to start my own firm, and I believe in seeding. And I want to seed into somebody who needs my help. I want to help your son. And my dad was like, I don't know what he can afford. She says, do you think he can afford $500? Yeah, if he can, all right. She came to me and she goes, I'll do it for $500. Now, this is going to be hours and hours and hours. And I mean, okay, and this is about a $300 an hour attorney. And I said, okay. So at any rate, it came to the day they went and, they met, the attorneys did, and they sat down, and she was a Jamaican woman who was an attorney here in the States. And so this good old boy network sitting there, and they start off with, honey, we just don't think you understand the contract. See, they got me on a loophole, right? And it was what they call an interpretive loophole. In other words, it was whichever way they want to interpret it, basically. And he said, if you understood, honey, what the contract really was saying in that paragraph, then you would understand. And she looked at them and she said, number one, I'm not your honey and I'm not your sweetheart. And she said, number two, when I wrote that contract for the state, I knew exactly what I meant by that. Boom, mic drop. She was the attorney that wrote that contract. If I'd had a high-dollar attorney, they would have gone back and forth for months. But within the 30 days that I had to be back active to keep those contracts, I was in. Matter of fact, they had to apologize to me. My point is, you don't know how God's going to work it out. Ever. Stop trying to figure it out. Man, there's a lot of guys in here I know because I know your stories. I know where you're coming from. And you're looking at some walls that are really tall. And it doesn't look like you're going to get over them. But I'm going to tell you something. Don't be surprised if God shows you how to walk around them. You may not need to get over them. I'm telling you, he tells us over and over and over again that he has our best interests at heart. Man, the verse I hang on to probably more than anything else is what? Jeremiah 29:11, man. Because what? It doesn't just say that he's got a plan for me. It says that he tells me what his plan is to what? To prosper you and to bring you no harm. That's what we have to hold on to. But here's the best part. We're going to get in the solution. The thing we have to do, the process I was talking about, the reason we can't keep asking someone, pray, is all through this next part. You have to retrain your brain. We got to retrain our brains. We got some messed up thinking up here. Y'all know what I mean? I mean, we'll make it nice. It's stinking thinking, right? And it is stinking thinking. Because I'm the author of the storyline that I'm thinking about. So what do we got to do? We got to learn to step back and pause. Man, there's so much power in pause. I'm telling you something, and people know this about me. Don't give me bad news after 4 o'clock. Just don't call me up and give it to me. Because, unfortunately, as much as I want to pray through it and everything that night, I'll be up that night praying through it, right? So it's real simple. Hit me with it before 4, contact me the next morning when I'm able to do something about it. So that is a boundary that I had to put in with everybody that works for me or with sponsees. And my sponsor, I don't drop anything on her like that. But what the word actually says is it says, do all you can do, and then step back and watch what? Watch the glory of God come through every time. Not part-time, not hammer time, every time, right? Every time. Then the next thing you have to do is you got to be honest with yourself. Man, this is where we have a real issue, right? It's like I'm good with being honest with everybody else. It's the dude on the other side of that mirror that I have a problem with sometimes. But get honest with yourself, and here's the best way to do it. Come to a realization. What's a realization? You know what it is? It means, wow, I now have a new way to see this. I see the truth. I realize the truth. But realize, here it goes, that I'm coming out of fear of the unknown. False evidence appearing real, man, right? 9 times out of 10, I don't know what the end result's going to be, but I've already got about 16 scenarios and ain't none of them good. Why don't I get out of the scenario business or the results business? Why don't I just say, you know what, God? It's more you than me. It's like I've told you many times, I didn't go through the 3rd step because it was like, hey, I want to be in the 3rd step and I want to turn my will and my life over to the care of God. No, it was like this. All right, God, here's the deal. I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to take my hands off of it. And when you screw it up, it's your fault. And you never screwed it up. And he's never going to. I always say this. Matthew can attest to this. If we're riding around and if someone doesn't know what's going on, I always say the same thing. As long as one of us knows where we're going, then we'll be all right, right? And here's the deal. God always knows where you're going, so you're going to be all right. You just got to learn to sit back and trust. Do you trust me when I say that and we end up going to wherever we need to go? That's why we have to make a decision not to always react. See, we have a tendency to take all that pain, suffering, and fear and react to it instead of acting. And do you know what causes action? When you step back and you say, you know what? I'm going to give this a period of time. Then I can take action the way that I'm supposed to. I know that, like I said, my big reaction was always the same thing, right? It was always anger. Still is. But here's what I love about it. Honestly, this is what I love about it. If I get angry now, I don't lash out like I used to. What I do is I go, whoa, where's that coming from? And I have a question I have to ask myself. What fear is rising up in me right now that makes me want to react and not to trust? See, that's the difference that we have to make in our lives. You know, I was thinking about this, and as I was studying, I was looking Philippians and this kind of stuff, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, isn't it amazing that Paul spent so much time talking about anxiety with one of the largest churches he's had, the church of Philippi, and he's over there telling them how to handle it. And then as I got to thinking about it, I thought about Apostle Peter, right? And I'm thinking to myself, Peter tells us personally how to handle anxiety. And I got to think about that, and I thought, these guys are probably talking out of personal experience. So whatever you're going through with that, you're in good company. But they were overcomers. We're going to see that. Let's look at 1 Peter 5, 6 through 8. Give me 1 second. So humble yourselves under the mighty power of God. And at the right time, he will lift you up in honor. Let's look at that again. So how? Humble yourself. What does humble yourself really mean? It means realize you don't have the answers and it's okay. I think humble, we go, oh, I'm so bad. I'm so horrible. I'm so humble. No. You know, that's just inward pride. But when you're able to humble yourself in such a way to say, you know what, Lord, I don't know the answer, but you do, and I'm good with that. The mighty power of God. And at the right time, he will what? He's going to lift you up, man, in your honor. He's going to honor you. That means he's not going to let you sit out there and fail. Most of the time when people fail, it's because they set themselves up to fail. Promise you that one. Next one. Give all your worries and cares to God. For he what? Come on. He cares about who? About you and about me. Next one, please. Stay alert. Watch out for your great enemy. Man, am I the only one? Have you ever thought about using when everything was going great? It's like when everything was going down the tubes, you're like, man, at least I got the program, at least I got sobriety, right? But everything's going great, and it's like, hey, you know, a beer wouldn't be bad. Isn't that the same thing? Stay alert. Watch out for your great enemy. Who's the enemy? The evil one. And he is out to do what? He prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. Can I just say this? And I remember my last sponsor he would just hit me with all this. He'd always go, it's the shadow of a dog. And I'd call him and say, man, I don't know what's going on. It's just a shadow of a dog. Or he'd say, it's just a roaring lion. And what's interesting is that the lion who roars the loudest, are you ready for this? Is the toothless one. And literally in the wild, the lion is over here. So everybody runs from it, right? Whatever animal runs from it, runs back across Serengeti. There you are. There. Next thing you know, there's a pride of lionesses that are ready to take it down. Now, why is that important? Because God knows that. He created it, and he's telling us that the toothless one's the one making the most noise. Sometimes we don't need to run away. We need to run to, right? And you know, I can't leave you hanging, right? So what does that mean about it? It's just the shadow of a dog. When he, years ago, he was like, Lord, just teach me to have faith, more faith. And so he's walking, and he and his wife, her name was Judy, he called her Judah. He'd say, come on, Judah, let's go on down this street. I know a shortcut back to the car. And they were there, and all of a sudden, they hear this. And they're like, oh, Lord. And he looks, and it's the biggest dog he'd ever seen. You can see the shadow up on the wall. Now he figures that dog's got to be behind a gate. So he goes, come on, Judah, we're going to have faith. We're just going to take it one step at a time. And they get up to where the dog is. The dog's about that big. The lights are hitting it. It's the shadow of the dog. See, that's life a lot of times in our life. It's just a shadow, man. Right? It tells us that it's the shadow of death, not death, that we walk through. What I'm trying to tell you in that is that the enemy's got very little. He really does. You know what he's got? Your brain. He can do more damage in your life with your own brain than he can in any other way. And I'll get back off that soapbox. Here's what I know. I know that God wants the best for you in everything that he does. And that the biggest thing he wants to do is he wants relationship. So guess what that means? He wants to move that anxiety out of the way. Right? So here's 3 things that I did that helped me get rid of anxiety. Or, let's be honest, lower it way down. How about that? Well, I made an anxiety inventory. Anybody ever done that before? How about this? Maybe it's just called something else. It was a way for me to identify my triggers, what brought anxiety to me, right? So that way I would know how to get around them and move around them and not. No. The reason I had to identify them was so I could get rid of them. And so what did I do? I went and found out that I had a whole bunch of junk, whole bunch of childhood issues. Remember last week we read out of the book, we talked about childhood issues causing us our motivators today. And I would take those things and they would cause me anxiety. And so when I identified that stuff, I said, you know what? Boom, I'm done, man. I am done with this. I don't want those. And here's the funny part is a lot of the stuff when I look back was almost comical. It should have never had the control that it had over me. So that's why it was important for me to identify that. And the second thing I did is I stopped relying on everybody else to make me feel okay. Y'all have heard this one. I know I'm not the first one to ever say this, but y'all know what a cosigner is, right, in recovery, right? I'm going to keep asking enough people till I hear the answer that I want to hear and get them to cosign my bad thinking. Is that a good way to put it? There we go, okay. I'm trying to do better. Thank you. But I know because the word tells me that I can't have somebody else makes me feel better. You see, that's why we can't keep going to 15 different people, because we can't depend on what they say. You ever said something that maybe wasn't 100% true because you didn't want to hurt somebody's feelings? How about that one? Let's look at John 14:27 and see what it says. It says, I am leaving you with a gift, peace of mind and heart. He ain't talking about that gift, my friends. He's talking about, he said, because this is when he was ready to leave. And he says, check this out. I'm going to leave, and I'm going to send you someone to be able to live inside you and bring comfort to your life. Really? Yeah. And guess what's going to happen when you have that? Peace of mind. Man, is that not worth $1 million? Peace of mind and heart. I looked at that and I was like, what's that mean, Lord? I got a peaceful heart. I mean, it's like, no, do you have a heart to love others? I do. You do. And the peace I give is a gift the world cannot give. So don't be troubled or afraid. It's not a suggestion, guys. It's a command. Don't be troubled. Don't be afraid. Because you see, I've already given you the answer. I've already given you peace. And he says it right there. The peace that he gives me, the world cannot give me or you. Don't matter how much dope we do. Don't know how much sex you have. It don't matter what your addiction is. It ain't never gonna be enough. And the world will lie to you. Seriously, I'm going to ask a strong question here. Any of y'all remember the first time you ever did whatever drug that was your favorite drug? You remember that? And do you remember how many times you kept feeling that way? I never felt that way again. It was a one-time deal, right? And it never's the same after that. And that's how it is when I keep falling for what the world has to give to me. It's worthless, has no value. But you see, John, right there, just gave me the answer of what it takes. And what does it take? Total surrender and turning it over. But the third thing, and probably the most important out of these, was we must establish a relationship with God. How are you going to turn something over to God if you got no relationship with him? Why would you trust a stranger? How would you trust a stranger? You wouldn't, would you? You see, once I have a relationship with him, then I can turn my anxiety over to him and say, there it is, Lord, it's yours. It's not mine. It's not mine. I was never designed to carry this. And you know that. And that's literally why you're willing to take it away from me. Because you loved your children enough not to create anxiety. So why do I want to live in it? See, at some point it becomes a choice. And that's a hard reality. And you hear it a lot. You'll hear it from me a lot. But it's so true. At some point, we're no longer victims. See, I'm not a victim to what happened to me that caused me anxiety. If I choose to stay in it, I become what? A volunteer. And I don't want to volunteer for that mess. at all. But then I can turn around and give him the anxiety, walk away from it and say, it's yours. And that's what happens, isn't it? It's yours. See ya. Woo, I feel good. No, it's yours, Lord. Well, can I have just a little bit of it to carry with me? And you know what he goes? Sure. Sure. Do what you want to do with it. Okay. But it just takes a little bit to get us right to the right back place, right? And so he said, okay, Lord, I gave that to you and I took it back, but I'm going to give it back to you. And I may even take some back. But at least I know where I can leave it. And I'm going to try to. And I'm going to try to get good at leaving it and walking away. And that's what he cares about. Philippians 4:12 and 13. I know how to live on almost nothing. Paul's talking here. I know how to live on almost nothing or with everything. I have learned the secret of living in every situation. Anybody ever had everything you could ever want and still have anxiety? Honestly, when I lost everything, it was a moment of peace. There really was. I have learned the secret of living in every situation, whether it is with a full stomach or empty. Y'all can tell I didn't have a problem with that. With plenty or with little. Why? Check it out. For I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength. I can do what? Everything through Christ who gives me strength. The only way you're going to do anything through Christ is to give it to him. You see, if you really believe that he has your best interest, when you have a lot, you'll be grateful. When you have nothing, you'll be grateful that he's going to get you out of that. See, you'll always be okay. So here's an exercise. What I want you to do is learn how to breathe Papa God in and how to breathe anxiety out. And he taught us this the moment we were born and the moment we leave. And you know what it is? We breathe him. What's the first thing that baby does? Yahweh. Yahweh. I'm going to tell you something. The reason I'm sharing that with you, when I concentrate on that, and I call upon his name when I'm breathing that way, I'm telling you, anxiety starts to diminish. Depression starts to diminish. Because you see, he says that every name will bow to him. That's how I get it to bow to him. I mean, I can give all thoughts captive to the obedience to Jesus all day long, and I do. Promise you I do. But there's nothing like in those moments where it's just Yahweh. So I want everybody to do it a couple of times. Come on. Yahweh. One more time. Yahweh. Can you feel a difference? I always can. Doesn't take much. Because you see, that's how mighty he is. That's where he wants you to live. Appreciate you guys and gals listening this evening. And we're going to go ahead and close it with the Lord's Prayer. Who's the only one that can remove anxiety from our life? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who have trespassed against us. Lead us away from temptation, deliver us from evil, for thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen.